friends, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. Coming to you live from the beach once again. I do not like this angle, but I really want to put the camera down. I wanted to talk about food. Of course, I always come to talk about food because it's always on my mind. The processed food that you get from, let's say, a fast food restaurant or just a restaurant out is a lot better for you than the kind that you would buy at the grocery store. Now, when I say this, I don't mean that the food that you buy at the grocery store is bad. So if you go to the grocery store and you buy a chicken breast, depending on the quality of the chicken breast, it shouldn't be too bad for you, right? And you cook that yourself, that's one thing. But I'm talking about, let's say you go to the store and you buy a bag of boneless chicken nuggets or whatever those things are called. You're better off, if you could afford it, going to Wingstop or going to Chick-fil-A and getting the nuggets there. Even though it's all frozen food, the quality of the food that goes to a restaurant or to a fast food supplier is higher than the quality that goes to a grocery store. Partially because of the preservatives, because it is meant to be shelf stable, and the freezer at a grocery store is still a shelf. So anything that is meant to stay on a shelf like that for a long amount of time is full of preservatives that you really don't need, especially in something like a protein, like chicken breast or something like that. And it is really crazy how you can eat the same, or I have eaten the same thing from a restaurant, and then I've tried to eat it from the store. And when I eat it from the store, it just really hits my system very, very hard. And it is because of all the preservatives and the sodium. And the preservatives are kind of like a sodium because salt is a preservative. So there are fake versions of salt that they use as preservatives, and sometimes they use 3 and 4 versions of this to make sure that the item can stay in a shipping container, that it can handle the humidity at sea, that it can handle the change to come back to land, and all of that stuff. And it just makes food really, really toxic. At some point, some of it's not even food anymore. And that is really hard on the human system. And when you're consuming food that is just like matter and not a lot of nutrients, a lot of the leftover sits in your gut, and that's how you end up with a whole like generation of people who have celiacs or all of these sensitivities to different things like peanuts and wheat. All of those grains, they are kind of dusty and they give off a powder like a pollen, and that is why those are super allergenic. And they have to be handled with great care. And that's where it starts. Like if you start mishandling the grains, that's when the fissure occurs in the system, like as a corporate entity. And then the quality just dissolves from there into what we have going on here, where you really just can't consume anything without getting kind of sick. You know, like all the food, especially processed food, makes you feel a little ill. And the crazy thing is, for me, every time I eat an apple, like, and out here, I don't get to clean the apple as much as I would like to. It makes my stomach hurt. And I know it's the peel, because the peel tastes like wax, and it tastes a little bit like dirt, and it tastes a little bit like poison. Like, it's really crazy, and it's kind of annoying. And I've had to eat some processed foods, and I got some graham crackers, which I thought might be the most innocuous thing to get, from Nabisco. They taste like poison. I do not like, and when I buy stuff from these big companies, the initial taste that I get is a poisonous vibe. And then if you eat like more and more, like I'll nibble off little pieces, almost like a lab rat. And the more I nibble off, the more I get used to the poison taste. To the point where I kept nibbling off of this graham cracker until it started to finally taste like a graham cracker again. And it's really crazy. And I've had that a couple of times when I've eaten stuff from Nabisco particularly. So Dole and Nabisco, you got major problems. Saying all that to say, grow your own food, cook your own food. But seriously, it's best to try and even grow your own food if you can, or just make sure you know where all of your food is coming from. That is a truly blessed person. People think it's a blessing to be able to walk into the most expensive grocery store in town. I've done that on an EBT card when I was homeless, you know, so that is not that big of a deal. The blessing is to have clean food on your plate, and then to be surrounded by the people that you love, that love you back, that will protect and take care of you and everything around you, including the land that you live on, because that is truly, truly blessed here in life on Earth. And another health and wellness update, I once again consumed way too much sodium yesterday, but I did sleeping horizontally, and my ankles did not swell at all. So it turns out that the sleeping position is really what causes that problem. And then the sodium obviously doesn't help. It exacerbates the issue. It makes it way, way worse. So if you sleep like that, my grandmother used to fall asleep like that all the time. And I used to tell her how bad it was for her, because she would be not only sitting up, but she would have her neck fall so far down that it just looked very unhealthy. And sometimes she would fall asleep like that for hours. If I didn't see her and wake her up and tell her to go into the bed. So it is very, very bad for you. And I think it's called something when that happens. And I should have looked it up before I said this, but yes, so that is the thing. Not that I should have eaten way too much sodium anyway, but it really shows on my skin when I eat too much sodium. Like, it's so dry because all of my organs are dried out because of the sodium. And what did I eat? I ate a lot, as in probably almost the whole bag. I don't know why I said probably, of peanut butter pretzels. And they were delicious. That's my problem. It is portion control. There are people out there who can eat a small portion of food, and I think that is just so delicate and cute. I love that. I am not one of those people. I really, really wish that I could, but I'm just not full. Ever. Like, I don't, and if I get full, I only stay full for like a couple of hours. I would say no more than 2 hours. It could be the food that I eat, but I've pretty much always been this way, no matter what. Even when I used to eat a lot of fat, I tried eating a ton of protein, and that just wrecks my system. It's just a lot calibrating this human form. And another update, the thing that would be a game changer here in this situation is if one, as in me, a person, could run the air conditioning with the car off somehow. Or there just could be a way to air condition the car, because even when it's pretty nice outside, the interior of the car is a lot hotter. So it's usually about 30 degrees hotter, depending on the environment and the sun factor. So like even a 70-degree day, it's 100 degrees in the car. And that is why it's really difficult to sit in a car, even in a place as beautiful as Southern California. There's something about this generation or this era and like not really wanting innovation. Not the good kind. They just want kind of like, it's just pointless stuff. But that's interesting as well. Hello friends, coming to you live from a walk with Clementine. I've tried to film this video like 5 times, and every time as somebody comes and invades my space. It's kind of uncanny. Anyway, I wanted to come and talk about some statistics since I've been here in California. I don't know how long, but whatever. Do you know that I have not had a single conversation with anyone the entire time that I've been here? I met a guy at the library today, and I had a very brief conversation with him, and he told me I was doing a good job before we even started talking, which that is beautiful. But other than that, that one's magical. I love how even when I do finally have a conversation, it's super magical. Just trying. Oh my God, why do I keep putting it so close? Yeah, and the conversation was very magical. However, it's the only one I've had. And the only time I've even got to mention the book is to the lady at the library who was being an asshole. So that kind of is whack. This is not a statistic, but I really do wish that I could get that cat that I had in Las Vegas. I'm the kind of person where I really thought back then, I was like, maybe something will come through. That's why I am constantly disappointed on Earth. Can you see how, from a person like me, a dreamer like myself, this place could be really shitty? Think about it. If you're a person like me who's like a big dreamer and you have high hopes and you want things to be well and nice, this place is really fucked up. I'm not going to get into it, but anyway. Hello, friends. Please excuse this angle. I am trying to find good lighting. I am here with another health and wellness update. What I have discovered is the thing that is affecting my inflammation, or like my leg swelling, just all of the inflammation in my body the most, is the weather. being out in this heat, because yesterday we spent most of the day inside and I ate like normal or too much sodium, as I have been doing it lately, and everything was fine. I didn't even feel bad at all. I have eaten like this all the time and not had any of these issues with inflammation. And inflammation is not something that I usually suffer from, especially because I try to keep all of the things that are sort of inflammatory out of my system. And even when I do put a little bit, it's usually so clean that I don't get things like swelling in the ankles or anything like that. And I feel like even if I was sitting upright, my ankles wouldn't swell if I was inside. And for me, I keep complaining about it, the temperature is the most important thing. And it's probably the reason why I'm complaining about it over and over again, or bringing it to even my own attention over and over again, is because that is the thing that causes me the most stress. And I knew that. I remember this from last time when we lived in the car. It became tremendously difficult on my system to even digest food properly because of prolonged exposure to the elements in general, but the heat and the cold. When it got cold, it's just prolonged exposure to that is not something that a modern human system is meant to have to be subject to, which is why no modern humans should be living and sleeping outside. And that is the mission. At the end of this, there will be no modern humans living and sleeping outside. Mark my words, friends. At this angle, all I see is teeth.